Assalamualaikum Nazreen, welcome to Reality Bites at Toronto 360. As always, you start our program with a quote. This time it's Josh Billings says, "Health is like money. We can never have a true idea of its value until we lose it." Why have we chosen this quote today? Because we will talk about health and an issue that affects us every year. Fall is here, leaves are changing, it's beautiful, it's colorful, cool breeze, and flu is here. So we have an expert panel that will tell us about flu, the vaccine, and why is it important to get vaccinated. Our expert panel has Jackie Nugent. She is Manager of Infection Prevention and Control from Trillium Hospital. Hello, Jackie.
Hi.
We have Dr. Monica Howe from Peel Public Health. Hello.
Hello.
And we have Dr. Naveed Mohammad. He's a representative from LIN. LIN is Local Health Integration Network. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
इनसे बात करते हैं. Let's hear from them and let's see what they have to say, how important it is to get vaccinated and why is it important to get vaccinated. We'll start from Dr. Mohammad. What is LIN?
So the LIN, the Local Health Integration Network, is a region. There are 14 LINs in Ontario. So the whole province is divided up into 14 different areas. And in the region of Peel, there are 2 local health integration networks. One is the Central West LIN, where I work, and the hospitals that I work in. The other one is the Mississauga Halton LIN, which is where Credit Valley, Trillium, Queensway Hospital, and the Oak Road Trafalgar Hospital and Georgetown Hospital comprise. Okay. So it's basically a region, and each region has their representation in emergency medicine, palliative care, family medicine, pediatrics, and I represent emergency medicine in the LIN that I work in.
Okay. So how does LIN, or how is LIN responsible when it comes to flu? What area do you cater to?
So the LIN is responsible for a lot of the healthcare quality and the healthcare funding and the healthcare services that happen in that region. So the LIN will decide the kind of services that we may want to offer at the hospital and working with the hospitals, and what kind of other services like mental health services, diabetes education. Now, for the LIN, it's very important to work closely with public health, with Peel Public Health, to advance the prevalence of all kinds of immunizations. And during the flu season, as you talked about in the fall and winter, especially the flu vaccine, because if we can get the word out there and dismiss some of the myths, then we can prevent a lot of illness. We can decrease wait times in your family doctor's office. We can decrease wait times in the hospital. We can decrease absenteeism in schools and in workplaces, and also protect those patients that may have other diseases like heart disease, diabetes, lung disease, cancer. If they get the flu on top of that, it becomes a very serious situation. So the LIN works very closely with Peel Public Health to promote prevention.
Okay. Monica, what does the Peel Public Health per se does when it, in particular or specifically in the context of flu or flu shots or vaccination?
Sure. So Peel Public Health is part of a broader region of Peel structure. And we serve 1.4 million people in Peel. So the citizens of Caledon, Brampton, and Mississauga. And our mandate is really to promote the prevention and control of diseases. My particular specialty is communicable disease. And so one important part of our mandate is to promote immunizations. So for the flu shots, our role is to help to deliver over 1 million doses of vaccine every year. A big part of that is flu vaccine, and we deliver it to physician offices and pharmacies so that they can then administer the flu shots to their patients. And we also keep track of flu numbers. So, for example, last year we had 1,500 cases of flu that were lab confirmed, so people who got tested for flu, and we tracked the number of outbreaks and deaths. There were several outbreaks last year because it was a particularly bad year for flu. And there were 55 deaths last year from flu, all over the age of 65.
Okay. First question, you used the word communicable disease. do tell our audience, what does a communicable disease mean?
Sure. So a communicable disease is any disease that can be passed from person to person, or from what we call vector-borne diseases, so from mosquitoes or from water. Basically anything that is infectious.
It's transmitted from one to another.
Yes.
Okay. Then you said that you're responsible of giving the dose to the pharmacies or to the doctors, and then they administer.
That's right.
Is there a check and balance that, or a particular standard or a training that is provided to them, how to administer, where to administer, when to administer?
Absolutely. So every year when we distribute our flu vaccine, we include all of that information for anyone who's going to give the flu shot. We tell them which groups need it the most. Flu shot is available for everyone 6 months of age and older for free in Ontario. But also, you know, what are the side effects, what are the contraindications, or, you know, things to look out for before immunizing.
Okay. So, Jackie, as per my knowledge, what I understand that the entire health infrastructure is divided into primary, secondary, and tertiary care system. I'm sure that's how it is in Canada also. So you're taking care of the primary and you're taking care of the tertiary, the hospitals. How is it different at the hospital when a patient comes over there? Do they directly, can they walk in, or it's only in the case of an emergency that they come to the hospital?
Absolutely. In fact, at Trillium Health Partners, last year we actually, out of the numbers that our lab confirmed, we actually saw almost 500 patients that came through with influenza. And so a patient can come in through the emergency, of course, if they're having signs and symptoms of influenza. And once they get to the hospital, we put in place some structures. We ask them, there's a screening process that we call an infectious disease tool that we use. So someone coming into the hospital might be asked, do you have a cough? Do you have a fever? When did the fever start? Did you travel out of country? And based off of the responses, what would happen next is that individual might be placed in what we call additional precautions or isolation. And so if someone is coming to the hospital, you can expect to be perhaps offered a surgical mask, because the role of infection prevention and control in the hospital is prevention. We want to make sure that everyone coming through the door we reduce the risk of the transmission of influenza. And so I often tell people, we're not the ones that you may see on the front line, but our community should know that behind the scenes there are people working to ensure the safety and quality of care, so that infections, communicable infections and diseases, are not spread within the hospital as well.
Okay. Let's talk about the vaccine itself. What is a vaccine for my audience? And I generally hear a question that, you know, there are multiple strains or there are multiple viruses, influenza viruses, and if the vaccine is used for one, you are more susceptible of getting infected by the other strains. How true is it? And what is a vaccine, and how does that affect your impact on your body?
I'm happy to answer that question. So vaccine is a type of medicine that helps to build immunity in your body.
Okay.
So it helps to take advantage of your body's immune system to be prepared ahead of time before you get exposed to the bug.
Okay.
And so it helps you develop something called antibodies that help to fight off the infection. And vaccines are one of the best public health achievements that we've had. It's really reduced a lot of diseases and eliminated some diseases altogether, such as smallpox. So what, in terms of your second question about the different types of strains, so the flu virus changes every year, which is why we encourage people to get a shot every single year to get up to date with the latest circulating strains of flu. And we have two types of flu vaccines, one that covers 3 strains and one that covers 4 strains. Okay. And the one for 4 strains covers 2 flu A and 2 flu B types. That's mainly for children because they get exposed more to the B ones. But providing protection against a broad range of strains helps to boost your immune system as much as possible.
So let me, from my understanding, there are two types of vaccine. There's a trivalent, there's a quadrivalent. The quadrivalent is used for children.
Yes.
Okay.
6 months to 17 years of age. Yeah.
Okay. And then are there 2 doses or 1 dose that you give to children?
So if kids less than 9 years of age who have never gotten flu vaccine before need 2 doses 1 month apart.
Okay.
That's because the first dose primes the immune system, gets it ready, and introduces it for the first time, and the second dose acts as a booster.
Okay. डॉक्टर साहब आप बताइए हमें हमारी कम्युनिटी को ज़रूरत क्यों है इस वैक्सीन की?
देखो, सबसे पहली बात तो ये है कि हमारी कम्युनिटी में अक्सर हम एक फैमिली, बड़ी फैमिली में रहते हैं, और उस फैमिली में आपके छोटे बच्चे भी हैं जो ज़्यादा ससेप्टेबल हैं, और आपके अम्मी अब्बू या सास ससुर भी आपके घर में रहते हैं, बुज़ुर्ग भी हैं जिनमें हार्ट डिजीज़ हो सकती है, शुगर की प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, लंग्स की प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। और जिन लोगों को जो बहुत छोटे हैं उम्र में और जो बहुत बड़े हैं उम्र में, जिनमें दूसरी बीमारियां भी हैं, साथ में अगर फ्लू हो जाए तो वो दूसरी बीमारियों से भी बहुत कॉम्प्लिकेशन हो सकती है। यानी कि जब हमारे अस्पताल में लोग आते हैं इन्फ्लुएंजा से या फ्लू से, हम एवरेज लोगों को दाखिल नहीं करते हैं, उनको बता देते हैं कि घर में कैसे ख्याल रखना है, क्या दवाई लेनी है, और घर भेज देते हैं। मगर यूजुअली जो हमारे अस्पताल में लोग एडमिट होते हैं वो जो बुज़ुर्ग लोग होते हैं जिनको दूसरी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, या जो बहुत छोटे बच्चे होते हैं। बल्कि यहाँ पे पील रीजन में 2 साल पहले आपने शायद कहीं फेसबुक पे या टीवी पे या इंटरनेट पर देखा होगा, एक छोटे बच्चे का इंतकाल भी हो गया था फ्लू की वजह से, और उसकी अम्मी ने बड़ी पब्लिक कैंपेन की थी कि देखो फ्लू से भी यानी कि डेथ हो सकती है। तो हमारे जो फैमिली मेम्बर्स हैं, यानी कि जो आपको अम्मी अबू घर में बताते हैं कि आप जोशांदा पिएं, सूप पिएं, आराम करें, कंबल लेके बैठें, ये सब चीज़ें सही हैं, मगर ये तो कॉमन कोल्ड के इलाज हैं, जैसे ज़ुकाम हो गया, बुखार हो गया। और हम ये चाहते हैं कि लोग ये नहीं कंफ्यूज करें कि कॉमन कोल्ड जो है और जो फ्लू और इन्फ्लुएंजा है वो बिल्कुल सेम चीज़ है। वो सेम चीज़ नहीं है, वो डिफरेंट चीज़ें हैं। इन्फ्लुएंजा ए और इन्फ्लुएंजा बी जो है उससे जो है तबीयत ज़्यादा ख़राब हो जाती है। तो तभी जैसे ये बता रहे थे कि पिछले साल खाली 1500 फ्लू केसेस थे, 1500 फ्लू केसेस थे, मगर तकरीबन यानी कि 8-9 लाख ज़ुकाम के केसेस होंगे
इन्फेक्टेड,
राइट। नॉट एवरी जो कोल्ड होती है वो फ्लू होती है, मगर फ्लू जो है उससे हम बहुत प्रोटेक्शन करते हैं।
Okay, so what is the difference between flu and cold? For somebody who knows nothing, like if I am a stay-at-home mom, I know nothing. How do I differentiate what is flu and what is cold?
Okay, so usually when you have a common cold, you'll have the signs of the runny nose. You might be coughing and sneezing, and that will only last a few days. And usually that person would recover, feel better, and you've got a cold. But with the flu, the symptoms are a lot more severe. The person may have a fever. They may not necessarily show the fever, especially in our elderly population. Sometimes we don't see that fever, but you've got body aches, you have the pain. The duration of the symptoms are much longer. And so you can be a week later still feeling like, wow, I feel like a lot of people say, I feel like I got hit with a truck. Yeah. Just not feeling well. And I'm not sure if this was mentioned already, but the idea that I can go to the doctors and get antibiotics is not true. That true is a myth, because the influenza is a virus. It is not a bacteria. And so you'll know the difference because of the durations and, of course, the severity of the symptoms just lasting a bit longer.
Okay. I am going to read an expert from CDC. It was issued on September 27, 2017. And the CDC says that flu vaccines are amongst the safest medical product in use, and the risk of a flu shot doing you any harm is extremely small. Most people have no trouble. A normal reaction may include soreness, redness, or swelling at the injection site. You may have a small fever. So they are mentioning soreness, they are saying redness, you might have fever. I also hear people saying headache, nausea, or muscle ache. How long is the span for this, Monica?
So with any injection, you can get a bit of what we call an injection soreness. At the site, you might get a little bit of swelling and your muscle might ache. And then, as you say, some people may rarely get a little bit of a headache. But it lasts for very short time, and certainly is not as severe as the flu itself.
And what percentage do you think everybody would go through this?
It's a small percentage.
Very small percentage?
Yeah, the most common side effects are the injection site reactions, where your muscle will feel a bit sore, but the actual systemic or the more body aches or headaches are more rare.
Okay, I have a question. If I already have flu and then I go and get a shot, will that treat me quickly?
So the flu shot is supposed to be, you're supposed to get it before you get sick.
Okay.
There does tend to be every year 1 or 2 strains of flu that are circulating. So if you have had one particular strain, you may not necessarily be protected against the other strain, although it would be unlucky for you to be infected with both in the same season. Okay. So that's why it's so important to get the flu shot as early as possible, because it takes about 2 weeks for your body to develop the necessary antibodies to fight off the infection.
Okay. With this, we're going on a short break. Don't go away. We'll be back shortly and we'll discuss the topic, the issue, more in detail.
Blue Crescent School is a full-time elementary Islamic school. We aim to provide high-quality academic and Islamic education to foster excellence and good character in our students.
The reason why we brought our daughter to this school, it's a given that we wanted the Islamic study and the Islamic learning, but also what we like additional about this school is the French, the computer science.
أنا في الصف السابع أتعلم اللغة العربية والفرنسية والإنجليزية والرياضيات والعلوم. أحب مدرستي ومعلماتي كثيرا.
जिंदगी की दौड़ में आगे रहने के लिए आप कितनी मेहनत करते हैं और वक्त है जो हाथ नहीं आता, इसीलिए अब पेश है हबीब झटपट। जी हाँ, फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम हबीब पेश करता है रेडी टू कुक रेसिपी मसाला मिक्स। इसमें है सारे इंग्रेडिएंट्स, यानी प्याज, टमाटर, लहसुन, अदरक काटने की झंझट से छुटकारा और लज्जत से भरपूर खानों का मजा बगैर किसी मेहनत के, वो भी झटपट। नो MSG एडेड, ग्लूटेन फ्री, यानी बचत, लज्जत और सेहत साथ साथ विद हबीब झटपट।
Welcome back. Let's ask Dr. Monica. I know it's a sad part, but how fatal is flu and what happened last year?
So flu can be a fatal disease. I think most people don't realize that because many people have had flu before, and for the majority of people, they recover within 7 to 10 days. But flu is actually one of the top 10 causes of death in Canada every year. Mm-hmm. And it particularly affects those that are very young and very old.
Okay.
Last year, we had H3N2 as the particularly bad strain of flu that tends to affect the elderly. And that's why we had all of our deaths we saw in Peel region were in those 55 years of age and older.
Oh. So Jackie, once somebody is infected and they're in a serious condition, what does the hospital do then?
So we, every year, along with our screening, we make sure that we can get the patients that are symptomatic in the right accommodation, because our goal is to reduce any risk of transmission. So if a patient comes in with influenza, one of the things that we do, we have a campaign every year. It begins right now. It's already began, where we really raise awareness to all staff members to be vaccinated. And so this campaign runs all through the season, really encouraging staff to be vaccinated, because as Dr. Howe mentioned, we know that when our patients are coming to the hospital, they're immunocompromised, they're not well. And so even those, a lot of times we hear folks saying, well, I'm well, there's nothing wrong with me, but we do it for our patients as well. And so not only are we protecting ourselves, but we're protecting those whose systems may not be able to fight the virus as we can. So in the hospital, our staff are encouraged to be immunized. We aim for 100% of staff being immunized. We also ensure that we are doing our infection control practices, which includes personal protective equipment. So a staff member would be expected to wear a mask, a gown, gloves. And not only are they wearing the personal protective equipment, but they're expected to clean their hands. Our number one way to reduce the risk of transmitting infection and diseases is to wash our hands. Okay. So it may sound really simple, but the impact, the effects of hand hygiene is significant. So staff we have a big program that focuses, we audit, we monitor, we make sure that our hands are clean for every patient. Another big part that we put a lot of emphasis in is our cleaning. And so we work very closely with our housekeeping staff to make sure that the environment is clean, because with influenza, when you cough or you sneeze, the virus can be spread, and we call that droplet transmission. And so wherever that virus falls, we know that whether directly or indirectly, the risk of transmitting is there. So ensuring that the environment is always cleaned and that our patients' hands are clean, that's a huge part of what we do in the hospital environment.
Okay. Dr. Mohammad, there are two types of vaccine, inactive vaccine and attenuated vaccines. That is what I know from my background. There is a general conception that these vaccines have viruses in them, so they are no good. What do you say about it? Well,
every vaccine, but we're talking about the flu shot today, but when you're in your childhood and with your children, and your children are getting the vaccines, the 2, 4, 6 months, whether it's a tetanus shot, whether it's meningitis, whether it's measles, they all have a component of the actual organism that will cause that illness. Yeah. In some of them, it's called live attenuated, which means that there is a living form. In some there's a certain protein that they take out of it. They create a protein. Sometimes they will use certain animals to harbor the virus or the bacteria, and then take a certain component. The key to a vaccine is to expose you to something that is similar to the bug that you're going to get. And when they expose you to that, your body starts to produce antibodies, or these little fighting proteins to fight off that infection. So that when you are actually exposed to that virus or bacteria in the future, your body gets a head start, and you don't get what we call the symptoms of that illness or the complications of that illness.
So you already have those fighting element in your body.
That's what your immune system is, right? But your immune system has to be triggered for it to start to create those antibodies. Now, as Dr. Howe said, that sometimes it will take a few weeks for those antibodies to develop. For example, when you're going to Dominican Republic on vacation, you get your hepatitis shot 3-4 weeks ahead of time, because it takes that long. Now, if you don't have a vaccination and you're exposed to that bacteria or that virus, by the time that your body has built up an immune response to it, you're already getting sick from that. So that's the simple way of explaining what a vaccine does.
Okay, so generally then they ask, when you try and explain this to people around, generally they say that you know, you are exposing yourself to the virus in the form of vaccine or getting infected, and then your body starts producing antibodies either to the vaccine or to the virus when you get infected. Why do I need to take shot? My body would automatically, it's my body responding, so my body would automatically respond to the virus. Why is it important to get ourselves vaccinated?
I think it's quite simple, actually.
Yeah.
You have very few side effects from the flu shot, but you can actually die from the flu.
Yeah.
So it is quite serious. So I think that when you look at the risk-benefit, it's quite simple. Everyone should get the flu shot.
Okay. What age brackets can get vaccinated?
So in general, vaccines can start as early as birth. So some people might get vaccinated based on their medical conditions. So if, say, the mother has hepatitis B, the baby at birth can start getting hepatitis B shots right away. But generally, for the routine childhood immunizations, they start at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months.
And the flu shot?
And for the flu shot specifically, 6 months of age and older.
And up to any age?
Up to any age, which is why it's really important for people who are around young infants to get the flu shot themselves, because the babies that are younger than 6 months can't get the flu shot. So you really have to cocoon and protect them by all the family members, grandma, grandpa, cousins, aunts and uncles, getting vaccinated before you visit a newborn.
Can pregnant ladies get vaccinated?
Absolutely. So it's really important for pregnant women to get the flu shot because they're a higher risk of complications. During pregnancy, you are more at risk of infections, and we know that pregnant women with the flu have higher rates of hospitalization, and their babies also are born more prematurely and can get infected with the flu. So by pregnant women getting the flu shot, they're not only protecting themselves, but also their newborns.
Can immunosuppressed patients get vaccinated?
Absolutely. They can get vaccinated with the flu shot. It might not work as well in them because their immune systems are weaker. But again, it's why it's important for them to get the flu shot as well as their family and friends around them.
While you were discussing, I guess you said that they usually come in and they want antibiotics to be prescribed to them. Why don't the doctors prescribe antibiotics to them?
I think there was a time when we did. And today, what we are seeing is antibiotic resistance organisms. And so that's one reason. We want to treat the right organism with the right treatment. And a virus is a virus. Antibiotics is for a bacteria. And so a lot of times I think people, we think, okay, I've got a cold, I need antibiotics. That's a myth. The reality is a virus cannot be treated with antibiotics.
Okay. One of you discussed that the strains mutate, they change every year. How does that happen?
So the flu is a tricky bug. It's been around for centuries, and it's pretty smart. Like, it will change and mutate to survive. And so what we see is 2 types of mutations in flu viruses. So the most common one that we see every year is a drift. So a very slight change or a tweak. And that's why the flu vaccine gets decided by the World Health Organization 6 months in advance of the flu season to put the circulating strains that they think will show up in the season to come. And then the second type of major mutation is what we call an antigenic shift. That's a major change. Yeah. And that's when we see what we call pandemics. And so as you may recall, our last pandemic was the 2009 H1N1 pandemic. Yeah. And so that was a big deal because it was a completely new strain that most people had never seen before. So those that can have a big toll on people's health.
Okay, there is another myth that the flu shot can lead to GB syndrome. What is GB syndrome, and is it true or not?
So Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS, is a type of disease that you can actually get from several infectious organisms. Not only can you get it from the flu, but you can also get it from a bacteria called Campylobacter that you might get. It's a foodborne illness, so you might get it from eating bad chicken or something. So very, very rarely, about 1 in a million people may experience Guillain-Barré, which is a temporary paralysis of your muscles that most people recover from. However, the risk of getting GBS is much higher from the flu itself than from the vaccine.
Okay. With this, we'll go on a short break. We'll come back and discuss the myths that are associated with flu shots and why people think that they should not take the flu shots. So if you're interested in knowing and rectifying your myths, then don't go away. We'll be back shortly.
The law professionals at TM Law, providing professional services in the GTA in the areas of civil litigation, criminal defense, family matters, and real estate, serving the community in English, Punjabi, Hindi, and Urdu. For more information, call Tahir Majid, barrister and solicitor, at 647-838-4773, or you can visit tahirlaw.ca.
जब भी बात होती है कार एक्सीडेंट की तो हम तलाश करते हैं एक लॉयर को और हमारे पास मौजूद हैं डेविड हिमोफार.
Yes, thank you. I'm David Himmelfarb. I have over 30 years experience in personal injury matters. We have a downtown Toronto location with over 22 lawyers to service you. And we speak your language, Urdu, Punjabi, and Hindi. We have a great community liaison, Anjum Qureshi.
आप हमें कॉल कर सकते हैं 416-570-0157.
Thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate, whether it be residential, commercial, or pre-construction, Arshad Bhatti and his team of professionals can help. We have guaranteed allocations in high-rise and low-rise pre-construction projects in and around the GTA. Want to be updated when a new project launches? Then join our database today and never miss out on the latest projects. Call Arshad Bhatti at 416-300-5600. That's 416-300-5600, or register at arshadbhatti.com.
Welcome back, Nazreen. Let's ask our experts, why do they think that it is necessary to vaccinate, and why certain people think that it's not necessary to get vaccinated. So, Dr. Mohammad, I was reading through this article and it says that the ineffectiveness is very well documented. They say that that the development of vaccine is on it's a guessing game. The scientists or the microbiologists, they guess what transformation or what mutation what the virus might have, and then they develop the vaccine. So it's not necessary that it will have an effect. Is it true?
Well, it's not quite a guessing game, but it is a prediction that we have to make. I'll give you an example. When most of your viewers may be Pakistani or Muslim, when they go for Hajj or Umrah to Saudi Arabia, they must all take the meningitis vaccine. Yes. And that the reason for that is that in the early 1970s, there was an outbreak of meningitis with a certain strain, ACYW135, I think, from Africa. So that's the guessing game or the prediction that the Saudi government makes or the Saudi health ministry makes, that there's a chance that that strain may travel from Africa to Saudi Arabia. So everybody must guess the vaccine, and people that are coming from Africa, they actually get the vaccine and a dose of antibiotic at the airport. They give them ciprofloxacin. Similarly, we look at what is happening in the, well, if from here we call it the East, in Australia and Asia right now with the flu. And for example, this morning we just got reports that the flu is coming earlier than expected. The strain they have identified, and this is a strain that was identified many months ago based on what was happening in other parts of the world. And flu will travel this way, and the flu also travels by the airline jet routes, because people are traveling with the flu.
Yeah.
This is how SARS came to Canada, because of the convention in Hong Kong, and somebody from Canada was going. And there's a physician, Dr. Khan at St. Michael's Hospital, who does a very significant study on traveling of illnesses according to jet routes. So it is a prediction, but it's a scientific prediction. Now, as we talked about before, the strain can mutate, and there is more than one strain. So if you get a quadrivalent vaccine, you're protected against four strains. So chances are, yes, you're going to get a little bit of a sore arm, like you get when you go for Hajj. You're going to get a little bit of redness, like you get when you go for Hajj, but you're not going to get the flu from those four strains, and you're not going to get meningitis like when you go for Hajj. You may get a cold, which is different than the flu. The problem is that if you don't take the vaccine and you have diabetes or heart disease, or you have a loved one at home that may have those diseases or may be undergoing chemotherapy, the impact on those people is so significant that taking the flu and taking the small risk, the very, very small risk that comes with the flu shot is very beneficial to our community.
Okay. The second why not to take the vaccine is, they say that there are no benefits for infants and children. From the age of 6 months to 23 months, they say that there are multiple researches done that say that it only has a placebo effect.
So the effectiveness of any kind of vaccine, it depends on the age of the person, their health conditions, and in particular the flu, how well matched the flu vaccine is for the strains that are circulating that particular year. We know that children have developing immune systems, so they do they may need a bit more of a boost from the vaccines that they're getting, which is why the government is actually publicly funding a vaccine called Flu Mist, which is an option for kids to get a flu shot rather through their nose. So kids 2 years to 17 years of age can get an intranasal spray in addition, or they can opt for a flu vaccine shot. So it's really important that when you get your young kids immunized, that you also get everyone else immunized to provide the best protection as much as possible.
Okay. So it's not only the vaccine, people around them can get them infected.
Absolutely. The more people that you protect against those who are most vulnerable, the better.
Okay. Okay. It also says that the vaccine has mercury in it, and the amount of mercury that is in the vaccine is more than the allowed limit for us to be exposed to mercury daily. Is it so? So, Dr. Mohammad, are you answering this question?
I can answer the question. Multiple vaccines will have a small amount of mercury in it as a preservative, and we've been giving vaccines for years, and people have not been getting mercury poisoning or getting any complications due to mercury poisoning. We find mercury poisoning in Canada mostly in contaminated lakes or rivers where people may be eating fish from. And when you look at the when you talk about the daily dose, remember that impacts you when you take something over a number of days. Like the native Indians that may have been fishing at a time in contaminated rivers and eating the same food every day. The flu shot, if you're over the age of 9 years, you're getting once a year, and it has a very, very small amount. So I think that's a valid concern when you read about it, but it's not something that impacts the human being.
Okay, so it's not going to lead to toxicity.
No.
No. And just to add to that, there are different types of flu vaccine products. Some are which are mercury free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if somebody's concerned, can they go and ask about that particular vaccine?
Yes.
And
Sure.
okay, that's nice. They say that it can also lead to Alzheimer. Is it true?
No, it does not need
It's
to.
not true at all.
Not true.
There's been no scientific proven connection between Alzheimer's or flu vaccine. Yes, we promote that elderly people get the flu vaccine, and elderly people may often get Alzheimer's, but
then there's no connection.
Yeah, elderly people also eat French fries, but we don't
Yeah.
connect it to French fries, so
Yeah.
there's no connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they say that, vitamin C is a better option, so there's no need to get vaccinated. You just have vitamin C and you'll get better. So what do you say about that?
That's not true. Vitamin C is great, but it's not number one. It's being vaccinated. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing this information. I'm sure it's going to be very beneficial, and I'm sure my audience will now. Everybody who's watching the show will now go and get themselves vaccinated and their kids and their families vaccinated, and try and convince people around us to get vaccinated so that we are safe and people around us are safe. Do you have a message that you would want to give our audience today so you can share with them?
I think my message is that influenza is coming. It comes every year. And the best way to protect yourself is through getting a flu shot and getting your immunization. And you're not only protecting yourself, you're protecting your loved ones, your co-workers, and anybody that you may come in contact with on the bus, in a lineup, in a Tim Hortons, anywhere. Even in the winter, if one of your family or friends gets ill and you have to go visit them at the hospital, having the flu shot and not having the flu makes a big difference. So my message would be the flu shot is safe, get immunized, it works most of the time, we get it right most of the time, and it will help you in the long run.
Okay. Dr. Howe?
Absolutely. Just to echo Dr. Mohammad, the flu shot is free and available for everyone 6 months of age and older. And particularly important for, not only people with chronic conditions and the elderly, which people naturally think of getting the flu more often, but also think about kids that are under 5 and protecting pregnant women and families as well. That's really important because we know that the flu is more common in kids because they like to share sippy cups, germs, and everything. So we actually know that they get infected at a higher rate with flu than adults do. So just to keep all those groups in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jackie?
Hi. So my message to everyone is just to continue to practice very good infection control measures. Number one, wash your hands. Just really be diligent. It sounds like a very simple methodology, but it works. Clean your hands regularly. And if you do have a cough and sneezing, when I was younger, my mom used to say, cover your mouth, cover your sneeze. And today we ask you to continue to do that and use a tissue, cover your cough. The new respiratory etiquette is, sneeze into your sleeves so that we're not spreading the germs. And also just washing your hands and ensuring that if you are visiting a loved one in the hospital for any other reason and you're not feeling well, we ask you to kindly to stay home, feel better, because if you come to the hospital, the risk of spreading what you have to those that are already unwell increases. So that's my message to the community today.
And if somebody is ill, what do they do at home? Have soup? Have soup, rest? That's it? And not go to work?
If you have the common cold, of course, you
Yeah.
listen to what your mom and dad tell you, right? Rest, have soup, drink fluids, drink Jashanda, have Jashanda is whatever the traditional remedies are. But the main thing is that decrease your exposure to everybody else. If your symptoms are such that the fever is lasting too long, you're getting severe headaches, you're getting severe body aches, you feel that you may be having issues with breathing or things like that, then of course please go see your doctor or come to our hospital and we'll look after you. But the common cold is mostly avoid exposure, get some rest.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show today. उम्मीद करते हैं आज का प्रोग्राम आपको पसंद आया होगा. The reason that we have had this topic, we chose this topic today is that we want all of us to be safe. जैसे मैं हमेशा कहती हूँ, खुश रहिए, आबाद रहिए, अपने आसपास के लोगों का ख्याल रखिए. ये उसी की तरफ एक कदम है, अपना और अपने आसपास के लोगों का ख्याल रखिए. And that can only be done once we start taking care of our health, our children's health, our family's health, and people around us, so that we are not infected and we don't spread that illness anymore. Thank you so much. अगर प्रोग्राम पसंद आया है, do write to us at toronto360@realitybites.tv या हमें कॉल करें 416-500-2424 पे. उम्मीद करते हैं आप सब वैक्सीनेशन ज़रूर लेंगे. Do take the shots. Thank you so much.
Dixie Electronics and Appliances is your #1 destination for electronics and appliances. Choose from TVs and home audio that will entertain your whole family, to home comfort essentials for your living space, and a wide selection of appliances to build your perfect kitchen. From selection to delivery, Dixie Electronics is everything you need. Price match guarantee and 0% financing available, all under one roof. Come today at 5120 Dixie Road, Mississauga, or visit the website at dixieelectronics.ca.
क्या जमाना आ गया है, ना मोहब्बत रही, ना चीजों में लज्जत.
हाँ बाबूजी,
सब कुछ बदल गया.
दुरुस्त.
बस ये नहीं बदला कि एक रस्क बचपन में छीन छीन कर खाता था. माशाअल्लाह, वही खूबी, वही लज्जत. बरखुरदार.
लीजिए, हाजिर है केसीबी केक रस्क. शुरू से अब तक एक सी लज्जत.
केसीबी केक रस्क.
हाय, अगर आपके क्रेडिट कार्ड, लाइन ऑफ क्रेडिट, पर्सनल लोन्स, इनकम टैक्स, जीएसटी या स्पॉन्सरशिप डेट इतना ज़्यादा है, हम आपका कर्ज मैक्सिमम हद तक माफ़ करवा के लीगल तरीके से अंडर फेडरल प्रोग्राम आपके तमाम एसेट्स को सेव करते हुए आपको डेट फ्री करने में हेल्प करते हैं. हाय, आई एम सिद्दीक फ्रॉम ऑल डेट सोल्यूशन. हम अपनी फ़ीस आपका केस अप्रूव होने के बाद लेते हैं और मैं इस चीज़ की गारंटी करता हूँ कि मेरे ऑफिस से आपको सरप्राइज़ नहीं मिलेगा.